Right then, you want to be a farmer, do you? Think you've got what it takes to wrestle a profit out of the unforgiving grip of Mother Nature? Well, before you go charging off to buy yourself a tractor the size of a house and enough livestock to fill Noah's Ark, let me offer a few nuggets of wisdom from a seasoned veteran of the agricultural world. Whether you're dreaming of rolling fields of wheat or a flock of sheep bleating in perfect harmony, these 7 essential tips will help you navigate the minefield that is starting a farm from scratch. Trust me, I've learned these lessons the hard way, and let's just say my wallet still hasn't recovered from some of those early blunders. So, before we get down to the nitty-gritty of turning you into a proper farmer, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It's the little red thing down there. And while you're at it, give this video a like and leave a comment telling me about your farming ambitions. Now listen carefully, because this is probably the most important piece of advice I can give you. Start small. It's easy to get carried away with big dreams and ambitions, but starting small is the key to long-term success. I know, you've got grand visions of a farming empire that would make old MacDonald weep with envy. You see those vast fields and imagine them brimming with crops and livestock. But trust me, biting off more than you can chew is a recipe for disaster. It's not just about the physical labor, but the mental and emotional strain as well. Think of it like this: you wouldn't try to climb Mount Everest on your first day of hiking, would you? You need to build up your stamina and skills gradually. No, you'd start with a few gentle hills, maybe a moderately challenging fell or two. Farming's the same. You need to start with manageable tasks and gradually take on more as you gain experience. Begin with a manageable plot of land, something you can realistically handle without turning into a gibbering wreck. A small vegetable garden, a few chickens, maybe a couple of pigs if you're feeling adventurous. That's your Everest base camp. These small beginnings will teach you the basics and help you understand the intricacies of farming. Get comfortable with the basics, learn the ropes, and then, and only then, should you even think about scaling up. Mastering the fundamentals is crucial. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, and your farm won't be either. Patience and persistence are your best friends in this journey. There's no shame in starting small and growing at a sustainable pace. In fact, it's the smartest thing you can do. It allows you to learn and adapt without overwhelming yourself. In fact, it's the smartest thing you can do. I speak from experience, you see. When I first started at Diddley Squat, I had these grand plans. Thought I could handle it all. Ended up chasing a herd of escaped cows across the countryside in my dressing gown. Not my finest moment, let me tell you. So, learn from my mistakes. Start small, find your feet, and then you can start thinking about expanding your farming empire. It's a journey, not a race. Start small, find your feet, and then you can start thinking about expanding your farming empire. Remember, it's a journey, not a race. Take your time and enjoy the process. All right, so you've got your plot of land sorted, you've resisted the urge to buy 1,000 sheep, and you're ready to get started. Now it's time to talk tools. And let me tell you, a good set of tools is as important to a farmer as a decent set of wheels is to, well, me. Without the right tools, your work becomes 10 times harder. Now, I'm not saying you need to go out and buy the biggest, shiniest tractor money can buy. That would be overkill for most beginners. In fact, when you're starting out, you might not even need a tractor at all. A sturdy wheelbarrow, a good spade, and a few other essentials can go a long way. A decent pair of secateurs. These are your weapons of choice in the early days. They make pruning and trimming much easier. But whatever you buy, make sure it's good quality. Quality tools are an investment in your farm's future. Cheap tools will break, and then you'll be left cursing and swearing as you try to fix the bloody things. It's not worth the hassle. And trust me, you'll have enough to curse and swear about on a farm without adding broken equipment to the mix. Farming is tough enough as it is. Look for tools that are built to last, tools that can handle a bit of rough and tumble. They should be able to withstand the daily grind. And don't be afraid to spend a bit extra for quality. It might seem like a lot up front, but it's a wise investment. It'll pay off in the long run. You'll work more efficiently and with less frustration. Remember, a good workman never blames his tools, but a good farmer always makes sure he's got the right ones for the job. The right tools can make all the difference. Now, before you go planting your fields with every type of seed you can get your hands on, there's something you need to do. Get to know your soil and your local climate. This is the foundation of successful farming. Think of them as your new business partners. You need to understand how they work if you want to succeed. First up, the soil. It's more than just dirt. It's a complex ecosystem that supports plant life. That brown stuff might not look like much, but it's the lifeblood of your farm. Healthy soil means healthy plants, which translates to a bountiful harvest. Get yourself a soil testing kit. You can find them online or at any good garden center, and figure out what you're working with. This will give you a detailed analysis of your soil's composition. Is it clay, sand, loam? What's the pH level? Each type has its own strengths and weaknesses, and knowing this helps you make informed decisions. What nutrients are present and what's missing? This information is crucial for determining what amendments you might need to add. Once you have a good understanding of your soil, you can start choosing crops that will thrive in those conditions. Matching the right crop to the right soil can make all the difference. There's no point trying to grow watermelons in a bog, is there? Next up, the climate. Understanding your local weather patterns is just as important. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of climate change nonsense that sends those eco-warriors into a frenzy. I'm talking about the day-to-day weather you can expect. I'm talking about good old-fashioned weather patterns. Knowing these patterns helps you plan your farming activities more effectively. How much rain does your area get? Is it consistent or does it come in bursts? What are the average temperatures throughout the year? This will affect what you can grow and when you can plant. When does the frost usually arrive? Frost can be a crop killer, so knowing this helps you protect your plants. These are all crucial pieces of information that will help you plan your planting and harvesting schedules. Proper planning can save you a lot of headaches down the line. Get it wrong, and you could end up with a field full of frost-bitten cabbages, and nobody wants that. So take the time to understand your soil and climate. They really are your new best friends in farming. Now here's a bit of advice that doesn't involve mud, sheep, or tractors. Keep track of your finances. I know, it's not the most glamorous part of farming, but it's essential if you want to stay afloat. Remember, you're not just a farmer now, you're a business owner. And like any good business owner, you need to keep a watchful eye on your cash flow. That means keeping detailed records of all your expenses. Everything from seed costs and fertilizer to fuel for the tractor and vet bills for the livestock. And don't forget about your own time. Farming's a 24/7 job, so make sure you're factoring in your own labor costs. On the income side, keep track of everything you sell, whether it's a dozen eggs to your neighbor or a truckload of potatoes to the local market. And here's a little tip from my accountant. Yes, I have one, surprisingly. Set up a separate bank account for your farm. It'll make it much easier to track your income and expenses, and it'll save you a lot of headaches come tax time. Now you might think that farming is a solitary pursuit, a chance to escape the hustle and bustle of modern life and live a simpler existence. And while there's certainly some truth to that, don't underestimate the importance of building a support network. Farming, you see, can be a lonely old business. You spend hours on end surrounded by animals who are more interested in eating your crops than engaging in stimulating conversation. And while talking to the dog is all well and good, sometimes you need to speak to another human being who understands the unique joys and challenges of farm life. That's where your support network comes in. Join your local farming association, attend agricultural shows and workshops, strike up conversations with other farmers at the feed store. You'll be surprised how much you can learn from those who've been there and done that. And who knows, you might even make a friend or two along the way. Just try to avoid anyone who starts talking about crop circles or government conspiracies. Those types tend to be a bit much, even for me. Now, I know what you're thinking, sustainable farming, that's all a bit hippy-dippy, isn't it? Well, I'm here to tell you that sustainable farming isn't just good for the planet, it's good for your bottom line too. Think about it. Using less water means lower water bills. Composting your food waste means you're not spending as much on expensive fertilizers. And reducing your reliance on pesticides and herbicides means you're not exposing your crops or yourself to harmful chemicals. Plus, consumers are becoming more and more discerning about where their food comes from. They want to know that it's been produced ethically and sustainably. So by adopting eco-friendly practices, you're not only doing your bit for the environment, you're also tapping into a growing market of conscious consumers. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want to buy their vegetables from a farmer who cares about the planet? Well, apart from those eco-warriors I mentioned earlier, they'd probably complain that your carrots weren't organic enough or something. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Farming is hard work. It's unpredictable, it's demanding, and it's about as far removed from a 9-to-5 office job as you can get. But it's also incredibly rewarding. There's nothing quite like the feeling of harvesting your first crop or watching a newborn lamb take its first wobbly steps. But here's the thing about farming. Mother Nature doesn't negotiate. She doesn't care about your carefully laid plans or your meticulously organized spreadsheets. She'll throw you a curveball in the form of a late frost, a torrential downpour, or a plague of locusts just when you least expect it. That's why it's essential to stay patient and be prepared to adapt. Things will go wrong, crops will fail, animals will get sick. It's all part of the farming life. The key is to learn from your mistakes, roll with the punches, and never give up. Remember, the most successful farmers aren't the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who learn from them and come back stronger. So there you have it, my 7 essential tips for first-time farmers. I hope you found them even mildly helpful, or at the very least mildly amusing. Remember, starting a farm is a bit like trying to herd cats. It's chaotic, it's unpredictable, and it'll test your patience to the limit. But it's also incredibly rewarding. There's nothing quite like the feeling of producing your own food, connecting with the land, and telling those city folk where their dinner really comes from. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a farm to run. And by run, I mean chase after a runaway piglet while trying to avoid getting trampled by a herd of sheep. It's all in a day's work for a farmer.